Welcome to our second webinar on behalf of our clients, Posist, who are collaborating with the Dubai Restaurants Group once again. Thank you, DRG, to analyze the sentiments of restaurateurs in the Middle East around the major events like Dubai Expo, T20, FIFA World Cup, etc., etc. This second Posist Restaurant Industry and Prime Evolution report, what we refer to as Prime easily, we have analyzed these sentiments, and the report takes a deep dive into what are the trends that are emerging in this industry, including technology, new business models, kitchen operations, menu trends, etc. We will share a link in a day's time with, so you can download the report for free. But instead of just releasing the report, we wanted to get together some of these stalwarts from the restaurant industry, including the members of the Dubai Restaurant Group board, to have a conversation around these findings and actually get their input and have a discussion around it. So it's not just releasing the numbers. So the session would probably just take about, we've sort of put aside 90 minutes for it, but it may be less, it may be more. I will talk through some of the key findings around the findings from there and the discussion points around them with some questions to our Singh. Please share your questions to the Q&A button, and we'll try and address them as we go along and get some of the, if you have it for a specific panelist that you would like to answer your question, please mention that so that we can get them to address those as well. So let me introduce you to the panelists. Ajay Singh is from Posist, so he's a joint host with the Dubai Restaurants Group. So Ajay Singh is the Chief Growth Officer of Posist Technology. He's based in Dubai and is responsible for the company's global expansion and the development of international teams. A senior industry leader, Ajay brings over 30 years of experience in diverse sectors, including retail, food services, consumer goods, and real estate. Ajay was the CEO of Pizza Hut and Costa Coffee in India, and with Devyani International, where he revitalized sales and profitability across 400 plus dine-in and delivery stores with a 4,500 plus team members. Naeem Madad, most people who are in the food industry know who he is. So I'm not sure whether we really need to introduce, but I will take a stab at it anyway. He's the chairman and founder of Gates Hospitality, and he's also the board member of Dubai Restaurants Group and a champion to help us and support us in helping us with this survey that we've been doing with them. So we're very, very welcome to have. He's with he has 38 years of hospitality experience across Australia, Asia, Middle East, and has held various senior management roles. Naeem has launched and operated some of the world's best hotels, resorts, spas, and lifestyle, food and beverage concepts. He established Gates Hospitality in 2010. It's a homegrown hospitality company representing handpicked concepts for affluent lifestylers and owns a stable of well-known and respected homegrown brands. Mert Askin, welcome Mert, is the president for food and beverage at the Azadia Group. He leads of the F&B division, which has more than 100 outlets across 8 countries in the Middle East and Africa. Prior to joining Azadia in 2014, Mert gained extensive operational experience leading the casual all-day dining chain of the D.Ream Group, one of the world's fastest growing restaurant groups with more than 140 outlets, including Kitchenette, Gunayadin, Nusret, and Zuma. Wow. Earlier in the career, Mert was a management consultant with the Boston Consultancy Group in Germany, where he advised clients in various sectors on business strategies, and with Ernst & Young Luxembourg in an advisory practice. Samer Hamadeh, the founder of Big Mouth Concepts. In 2011, Samer decided it was time to venture into new pastures and explore the world of hospitality, something he had always been interested in. He took with him 7 years of entertainment experience alongside a strong social network and launched the now critically acclaimed nightlife brands Republic and Stereo Arcade. Both are incredibly popular. Following the success of these ventures, Samer launched his latest concept, Akiba Dori, in the Dubai Design District, and is taking the brand to Saudi Arabia with Akibadori Jeddah opening in the first half of the 2021 and Riyadh to follow. He also has an expansion into Abu Dhabi planned for next month, like as he says. He's known for his outspoken attitude in the hospitality industry, so it promises to be a very interesting conversation. And last but not least, Peggy Lee is the managing partner of SPS Affinity. Peggy, which is a boutique consultancy that covers a spectrum of working within the hospitality and service industries. She has 18 plus years of executive level management and experience in Europe, Middle East, and Far East. Solid Michelin star high-end food and beverage operator, worked with renowned well-known chefs such as Joël Robuchon, Atul Kochhar, and a few others. Peggy is also a startup mentor and an active member of the Dubai Business Council and UAE Chinese Businesswomen's Council. She's a regular speaker at high-profile events, industry events, and has a lot of experience working with restaurateurs. So here is a quick overview of some of the key findings that came out of the Singh, that 87% of operators expect the impact of mega events to result in a higher footfall, but only 1/3 investment in promotions. Jobs are back 55%, though there seems to be a discussion which we'll find out soon enough about the way things are moving. Hybrid businesses have emerged. 42% are exploring new locations. 34% are investing in setting up online ordering. Back of house takes front seat, and with hope of efficiency and things. So we go back to where we're talking about the major events taking front stage, center and front stage. 87% of restaurant operators expect higher footfall around Expo 2020, FIFA World Cup, T20, Qatar 2022, and yet 30% of these restaurateurs still stay wary. Question for Naeem, if you would like to kick off, please, Naeem. How real are these numbers? And despite the obvious reasons like, what can the uncertainty of this particular area, why are 30% of these restaurateurs still wary?
Morning, Mita and everyone. Thanks for being on the call and the kind introduction. I want to start on the positive. 87% are forecasting positiveness. And I think it's important to highlight where we have been in the last 2 years and where we are today. The recovery has been phenomenal. Yes, 30% are still concerned, rightly so, if I may add. But a few points that I'd like to raise today on the call is to make sure that we focus on the positives and address the challenging points. One of the main issues is the airlift. Let's not forget, airline operators are still running at 35 to 40% maximum. So the influx of traffic into the country is still fairly limited. And we're seeing people wanting to fly, but there's still a fair bit of anxiety and worry in the air. So it's going to take a bit of time for people to gain that confidence back and gain travel successfully and accessibly. So airlift is one problem. Second problem is the workforce. Again, we shouldn't underestimate the challenges imposed by the pandemic, challenges of people flying, and the shortage of manpower generally around the globe based on the challenges we have faced over the last 18 months, 2 years. The third point is reality of conducting business. I think business has changed and people have realized that food and beverage in particular, it's not all glory, it's not all fun, that there is actually a challenging part and it's not always a success story. Previous to the pandemic, the F&B sector was looked at as a very easy industry to enter, not forgetting a lot of the challenges that we do face as operators. So I think a lot of people have realized the industry is challenging and it takes a lot of time to get your ROI and get your business established in such a very busy market. And last but not least, Mita, I think habits of consumers have changed over the last 2 years. And again, later in the report, we make reference to cloud kitchens, dark kitchens, and so forth. The habits have changed. So in order for us to gain consumers' confidence back and gain that kind of solid in business come back. I think it's going to be a while, but let's focus on the 87% rather than 30% is my summary.
Samir, would you like to add to that?
Hello, first of all. Yeah, I mean, when Naeem pretty much sums it up nicely. I would say, 30% of restaurants are wary of spending money on marketing. I think most restaurants don't spend enough time or energy or money on marketing, whether it's 30% or 90%. I think most people think that they just open the doors and people show up magically, which is how it works, by the way. So everyone opening a restaurant, you should just open your, and just, it's just hope, hope works for the restaurant business. Look, I personally was very annoyingly vocal about all the crazy end of the world scenarios that were happening last year. And maybe I made fun of it. Maybe some people got insulted that, it was just ridiculous how people overplayed everything that was happening and made it the death of all mankind and the death of business forever. And, clearly not the case, and will never be the case, short of something really fundamentally catastrophic. So I think it's only natural that we bounce back. I think restaurants, the biggest challenge really is staffing. I have to hire 120 people by February. So I don't even know how to start with half that thing. So we all have our challenges, but I think ultimately, like Naeem was saying, the airlift issue. I mean, I know from Emirates, they need to hire 5,000 or 6,000 people. So they're basically rehiring people that they let go of, or new people, because they realize that, things are going to start going back to normal slowly but surely. I just don't think anyone will overestimate or underestimate anymore. I think you kind of have to get started with your business and see if you're up to it. And most people, I think, after the pandemic, realized that it's just not for them. So, which is why we saw a lot of restaurant closures and a lot of people just saying, just go back to doing something else, because it's a pretty brutal industry with or without COVID. And big events like the Expo, I mean, I fully understand that people expect more footfall. I think the numbers have been downgraded for the Expo again because of the airline problems and airlift problems. So I think we're 1/6 of the expectations, and people going to the Expo aren't necessarily going around Dubai. So it's smart that people don't think, that it's necessarily good to promote or spend money to reach people that are very far from you. Like you see here in your 70 to 30%, where there's no direct promotional campaign for the Expo. And I just think it's a great experiment for Dubai having it now and seeing all these amazing new concepts pop up over there. I mean, I know Naeem is responsible for a whole bunch of really cool new setups that are Expo exclusive for now. But there is one downside to the Expo no one's talking about, and this is not, I'm not just in F&B, I'm in 2 other industries. I own companies in 2 other industries, and the effect of the Expo has been really, really good in all industries, but also really, really bad in the sense that because a lot of it is subsidized. So, pop-up restaurants at the Expo are paying triple and quadruple what any other restaurant would pay. So for an employee making, 3,000 or 2,000 dirhams at a hotel will go make 8,000 working at the Expo for 6 months. So why wouldn't they quit their job? So that's something also that people have to come to realize that is becoming a problem. And this is happening to me in other industries, because again, major advantage taking, if you will, if for lack of a better word, people taking advantage of getting paid by Dubai Tour. I don't actually know Dubai Tourism, but by the Expo, I guess, to hire people, and it's become a situation where hire at any cost. So what happens after 5 months? These people will never get paid what they were getting paid now. You're going to have new people that are getting hired. Those people are not going to find jobs. So there might be a very, very, very bad long-term effect unless this is like somehow managed properly. But I'm just saying, this is something that people have to keep in mind come March and April.
Well, we'll have a conversation and question around people anyway, so we'll get to that for sure.
Yeah.
Matt, what about you? Would you like to add something to that? Because you cover Middle East and Africa, so that would be interesting to see.
Thank you, and thank you for having me on the panel. Pleasure to be chatting with the fellow restaurateurs. Yes, the report doesn't cover only Dubai. This is something to remember. Most of us are living here in Dubai and have majority of our operation here, and we might be seeing a picture that might be different elsewhere, which I am seeing because we cover 8 countries, GCC plus some North Africa operation, and the footfall and performance of F&B is not the same across the region. This is something to highlight for sure. Dubai has been at the forefront of implementing changes and relaxing regulations and adapting as the cases and pandemic evolves very rapidly, and we are benefiting from that in addition to the events that are mentioned here on the survey. We are seeing a footfall improvement, so I'm with Naeem. Really, the picture is positive. We are having a very bad period behind us in the past 2 years, and definitely, if we're not going to be optimistic now, when are we going to be optimistic? So we are seeing a footfall improvement in all our operations across the countries. Although some countries are coming slower than others, and maybe the 30% that is mentioned is from that particular area or from a particular segment that might be still impacted by the pandemic. So definitely the airport operators, the travel app operators, I'm sure they are continuing to be quite wary because as mentioned, we are far from the numbers of travelers that were there before and far from targets as well. Yet, you know, really, if we have to make a general assessment, I think there is hope, there is confidence, and the picture is bright going forward.
Peggy, last but not least, let's get it from you, because you work with a lot of Chinese and Asian restaurant owners. I mean, what is the scene with them? I mean, what do you think? How does this reflect what they're going through?
I have to say hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to come on board. I think we need to look at, as what Naeem and all the other gentlemen said, in terms of the airway, it's not only of the people are not able to get in. Even the raw material produce price have gone up dramatically. The level of innovative thinking on how to re-gear the business to keep the mere morsels of the earnable viability is something of a challenge. Now, in regards to the overall Chinese picture, I mean, Chinese obviously is a huge segment to the UAE and indeed overall to the GCC. Despite the actual mainland Chinese, which is of the 1.4 billion, cannot make it, surprisingly, we slowly see a lot of traffic of foreign Chinese. For example, a lot of the Chinese traders and business owners down in Africa or even in Europe are making trips to Middle East and using this opportunity to see, is really Dubai a place to set foot, to set their office, or is it more of the kingdom? So this is the latest what I'm seeing the evolution of.
Ajay, last word. What do you see as Posist?
No, I think it's Posist, and so firstly, thanks a lot to everybody for joining the conversation. And now I think I'm pretty much aligned with whatever we've heard today through the experts. And all I would like to say is, we're in fairly uncertain times. The number of unknowns, which is quite unknown, the amount of discontinuity and uncertainty that it creates in the marketplace is huge. Despite which we have such a high level of optimism, and that's so I'm a rational optimist. I believe the market's growing, and whatever I hear in the market, meeting with clients, talking to individuals, setting up restaurants, kitchens, expanding. There's tremendous amount of hope, and as Samir said, driven by hope. So there's a great amount of hope, and 30% is fair. That's part of the game. That's how it works. That's how it comes. That's how it moves on. So I'm not worried about 30%. We just need to remain cautious and careful, ensure that whatever we've learned through the pandemic is engaged as we move forward. It's going to get better and better, I think. Yeah.
Brilliant. Moving on to the next part of the thing is that we touched upon this very briefly with Summer as well, but as diners return, restaurants are facing a challenge in hiring. 55% of restaurants hire more front and back office staff by the year end, and staffing has been a challenge for many of the restaurants. I know, Samir, we heard a little bit of this from you already, but shall we start with you, Mert, because you operate across Middle East and Africa. How are you overcoming these challenges, and what needs to happen to help this onwards?
Let me maybe start by saying that I do agree that staffing has been a challenge. It is a serious challenge, and maybe partially due to increased competition, higher expectations, global issues, but for sure it's a big challenge for us and many others. Samir made a great point. I think he has touched on the irrational, I want to call it irrational offers out there that lure some of the employees. It's a big problem, but we are, we always have been a long-term operator, with a long-term vision. So, these fluctuations need to stabilize at one point. From our side, I think the key word to counter is the focus on retention. So, rather than trying to bring in people and fighting for that needs to happen in any case, but focus on retention is a major topic for us. And we're looking into flexible pay options, upskilling opportunities, giving more training to our team members, showing them a clear career path. Because as you mentioned, we operate also various brands in various countries and are a growth company with a very solid growth mindset. So we are offering career progression opportunities and trying to pay as competitive as possible. Although, as Samir again has mentioned, and I think we will agree, there are some irrationalities out there that we will not be matching at all. I know some other companies are working on referral bonuses, for example. So they have these programs where they give bonuses to employees which have referrals, or providing some other benefits than salaries or pay. It is something that will be addressed, and it is an issue not only here, not only in Dubai, not only in the Middle East. It's a global issue for various reasons, and we will all find a middle ground at the end and continue to survive. That's all I can say.
Now I'm going to throw this back to you as a board member and of Dubai Restaurant Group. What can you as an association do to help these restaurateurs that are facing these challenges? What needs to happen? What needs to change?
Thank you, Mita. Look, it's a free market. We really are not in a position to start putting conditions and limitations on the market. My objective out of this, and personally, I had to recruit 472 people for Expo alone in a 6-week period. So yes, we did have to pay above market rates. And we did come up with a couple of plans for these guys, saying that if you do sign up for Expo only, this is a package. If you sign up for Expo and beyond, so you come back to Gates with us, this is the other package. So what we are saying to the industry, what we're saying to our colleagues, that long term, you will be rewarded differently than short term. Short term, it's quick money in your pocket and then good luck afterwards. Long term, we're developing you into an industry professional and giving you a career to grow with the organization, being in the Middle East and or abroad, anywhere else we operate. As DRG, again, our biggest request for everybody is, as an industry, what we should be doing is communicating. So we should be picking up the phone, doing reference checks, talking, rather than hijacking team members from one organization to another. We should be having those direct transparency and last but not least, camaraderie in the industry where we work together, because some of my people went to Expo who have been working with me 2-3 years. And if one of these operators who has actually poached them has picked up the phone, I would have made sure that I'll facilitate and encourage. So let's, again, it's an opportunity for these young people to come in, enjoy Expo first and foremost, work in Expo, and it's a great thing on their careers, on their CVs. So we can't really limit it. We should be supportive. And end of March, there will be an influx of people on the marketplace. So lots of opportunities. The one thing that we've all omitted from talking about is there will be a lot of disgruntled employees, because if you're getting yay much in Expo and you're having to face reality and drop your intake, there will be a lot of disgruntled employees, which is going to impact the industry in a negative manner. And that for me is a major concern.
Samir, anything to add? I know you've had.
Yeah, no, I mean, we weren't like necessarily affected by this, but I know from other friends in the industry who are constantly dealing with so it's a very very sensitive topic, because obviously the Expo is a great sense of pride for our city, and for for someone like me who's obsessed with design. It's like the best thing that could have happened in the last 20 years almost that I've been here. But from, like Naeem was saying, the disgruntled employees, how do you go from 10K a month to 3K a month? So what ends up happening, and this has happened in other cities during World Cups. This happened to friends of mine in Brazil after the World Cup. This happened to friends of mine in South Africa after the World Cup. People started feeling like they were getting underpaid, because for them, that was the reality for just 1 month. So imagine what happens after 6 months. So if someone makes more in 6 months than they do in 2 years or 3 years, maybe they can be a bit more, maybe they'll get way better experience, so they can actually bump themselves up, which is great. Anyone that wants to be in this industry, will have a place. But people that were just doing it because they would have taken any job and are willing to do any job will not come back and find work. And I don't see the exponential growth of restaurants in Dubai what it was, because now all eyes have shifted on Saudi, and we have to be very honest with ourselves. The amount of money being thrown around in KSA is astronomical in terms of what the region can offer. So you see a lot of restaurants moving there. So most of the staff that were working on the Expo that are used to the luxury of living in Dubai might not want to go to Saudi. And that might be the only opportunity for them, for most of them. And I say this like very confidently, most of the staff working at the Expo will not find work in Dubai after the Expo. Because one, we're coming into summer, so nobody's hiring. I mean, by April, people are actually sending staff away on vacation. So you're coming into the lowest of the lowest seasons, and you're overpaid by a dramatic amount. And not just F&B, just to be very clear, this is in other industries as well. So this is going to be a huge problem we're going to have to deal with. But by then, most of us that needed to hire would have hired. We won't be hiring more people. That's it. So that's why it's, people have to start thinking, like Naeem saying, long term. So yeah, you're going to make more money in the short term, but if you stay with us, you're only going to be making this much. So you need to make that decision. And I think we're going to have a very interesting situation on our hands in March, coming into, again, the low season, summer. No one's really hiring. Expansion will be at a very low for the city. And so it's going to be interesting.
So coming to you, Peggy, since you are a consultant, what are you telling your restaurant clients?
I think before that, let me just to reiterate or to just explain a bit more what Naeem and Sama said. Yes, for local hire in Dubai, it is a detrimental issue. Though having said that, there is a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. Now, for example, with a lot of specialist cuisine chefs who are actually especially brought over for the Expo event. Now, some of them, once they see the glitz and glam of Dubai, and they're actually not being paid by the Dubai rate, they might see the opportunity to want to stay in Dubai or even in the region to work. So there could be a good thing that there are some specialist chefs who have been possibly undervalued or underappreciated, in particular in my neck of the wood in the Far East, who has been urging and dying to leave the country, now suddenly have this opportunity. So I would probably see the light at the end of the tunnel in saying that we will get more authentic and skilled specialist chefs who are possibly we may not be able to acquire before are now available. So that's the pro side of it.
That's international though, not local. I'm talking about purely local staff. International, I'm all for it. We're all recruiting from overseas. All
which is fantastic.
I have a question from one of the audience members that says he wants to understand, and Nikki runs his own set of restaurants, etc. as well. He wants to understand how are restaurateurs counteracting this effect. I know Naeem mentioned some one long-term strategy, but how are you really actually hiring and counteracting this effect? Anybody
Nikki's saying that people that are in the same position and remain at the same pay will have issues, but people that are given a raise because they're worth it, I mean, they're going to get those raises regardless, right? But people that are going from one position to the same position and back to that position that were getting paid 3x, 4x what they were making, there's not going to be a place for them unless they're willing to go back to where they were. I mean, that's the reality, because the way this industry goes, you're not a lawyer buying into a law firm. You have to earn your stripes, right? You can't just jump from one position to another. So it really boils down to your kind of HR or your company governance strategy on how you promote people. You know, you promote people based on how long they've been there or based on their actual performance and their potential. That's what it boils down to, right? So I don't think there's a right answer for me personally.
So judging by the results that have been announced, it sounds like hybrid business models is probably one of them that's come onto these. And it says that 42% of restaurants are exploring new locations. Samer and Mert and Naeem would probably agree. Peggy is also exploring a few of these. 34% have set up direct online ordering, etc. And so they use a combination of cloud kitchen delivery and hero stores, etc., to maintain a balance. So Ajay, as a technology provider to this particular sector, how are you seeing all this from the Posist point of view?
I think this is a new reality, of course, and it's shifting as technology evolves. And I don't think it's on the back of technology, it's essentially on the back of delivery, discovery, and distribution. So as the consumers engage more and more delivery, distribution becomes a challenge and discovery is very expensive. So which is exactly what's getting reflected in this report, where deliveries, cloud and virtual kitchen, 65%, even more actually. Just about everybody we go and talk with is evaluating, if not already, with a cloud kitchen concept. Now it could be, there are multiple concepts which are emerging. One is a cloud structure, one is a cloud kitchen existing brand. So I think the key piece is delivery, which is driving cloud kitchens, and new brands. A lot of new people are coming into this space. So this is a great way of experiencing building your brand, and if it works, you can go and utilize it. If it doesn't, then you stay or exit at a reasonably low cost. When it comes to brands which are already engaged and very, very deeply entrenched in high brand equity, for them, it's a brilliant way of distributing themselves further, deeper into the market.
Okay. Sounds like there's a little bit of a technical problem with Ajay. So Mert, actually, I'm going to come to you. I know, Naeem, we've had this conversation before when we launched the last Prime report. But Mert, you work in the whole fast casual testing, which is one of the areas where cloud kitchen has probably been the longest. What kind of initiatives have you taken to yeah.
Sorry, there was an echo, but I think I got the question.
Yeah.
Well, look, let's face it, money is pouring in. It's raining, for the cloud kitchens. All these cloud kitchen operators, they don't know where to put the money today. They're raising hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're going left, right, and center all around the world. Okay, so it's a reality. There is multiple operators. There is local operator, there is regional operator, there is global operators, there's global wannabe operators. They're all expanding rapidly. Why they are expanding? Because the customer likes the convenience of getting the food delivered to their door in a short period of time. So there is a fundamental need and a benefit to the consumer that fuels that growth. For us, working with dark kitchens, which we have done, we've had a mixed experience. So I wouldn't say that our brands have performed consistently in this kind of operation. And we continue to experiment, but I wouldn't say it worked for us. That motivates us to grow in dark kitchens with a full steam. Simultaneously, virtual brands, also maybe that's something to touch here. That's another hot topic that's been being discussed over the year and more. And also our experience with virtual brands has been mixed. We are mostly a dine-in focused operator. We believe in serving the customer at the table and giving them and providing them an experience that is differentiated at the table. We like that interaction face to face. We build spaces that are cool and nice and where they feel comfortable. So our focus is continuing to be, the dine-in and, the restaurants as a physical space as well, which we see as a social, enabler. At the same time, we are working on how we can add sales to those restaurants that we operate rather than going in a dark kitchen. So by adding virtual brands to that particular space or other ways, but our focus today is not to grow in dark kitchens, which did not work consistently for us.
Naeem, I know you want to say something. I can see it in your face.
I'm itching to jump in. But I love dark kitchens and cloud kitchens and call them whatever you want to call them. Nonetheless, I think what's very important to stipulate here is that it's not an F&B industry. It does a service that is crossing over to F&B, but the main objective is IT, data collection, and building databases. Very, very important to stipulate. And why do I bring this in? Because F&B becomes a support service to that service. And whilst we are sitting home, enjoying that convenience, enjoying that service, I think it's impacting our industry generally, positively and negatively. But nonetheless, I think it's always important for us as industry leaders to stipulate the fact that it's not sole F&B business. It complements what we do. Is it growing? Absolutely. Is it here to stay? Absolutely. Is it going to eat into what Mert and what my business do? Absolutely not. This supplements what it does.
Is it making money?
Absolutely not. And again, Samir, I said what I said about the positioning is they have a different objective. It's not F&B. F&B happens to be the service component, but the objective is different in positioning that. And last but not least, what we should be really focusing on is making sure that we don't see it as a competition. It's not a competition. It's here. It does a service. It's like a kiosk, like the food trucks, fine dining, hotel dining, independent dining. It's another silo, and I think will pan out. The biggest challenge that we have in this part of the world is the volume. We don't have the headcount that it takes to do these large businesses. Elsewhere in the world, where you have millions and millions of populations, you can easily pull it off and break even. Whereas with us here, we're 3 million people in Dubai. And these kitchens—
And half of the 3 million don't order on delivery apps.
100%. 1.8 out of those 3 million will go to Ansari and send money home at the end of the month, Samir, 100% right. So again, it's a small market. And I think what we should be saying, this is not an F&B industry. This is an F&B industry supplement that includes F&B component. But we should be fighting for our industry and supporting our industry, the service component, the etiquette component, the innovation, and the engagement.
100%.
Samir, anything to add?
Well, Naeem, covered it perfectly. I don't, we were never,
tempted?
I never pushed for delivery. During the 1 month that we were locked down, obviously being on a delivery platform saved our asses for the most part, which was fantastic. I can't say anything about that, but generally speaking, I didn't get into this business to come up with a name while I'm taking a shower and not build a brand and just deliver the same thing repackaged 25 different times. the only thing that I find insulting, and nothing else, by the way, about the cloud kitchen model is that it treats customers like idiots. And you'd have to be an idiot to believe that this burger isn't the same as that burger and isn't the same as that burger, because they're all being made in the same kitchen by the same chef who's also making pizzas and shawarmas and sushi and salads. So yes, they've succeeded in I think turning people into giving them a Netflix stress syndrome by deciding what to eat. When I moved into my house, my new house back in January last year, so I've almost been here, this year, sorry. There were maybe 250 restaurants that delivered, actual restaurants. Now I'm at 1,000, and from the 1,000, I don't know where any of these brands exist. So what I think is going to end up happening, and feel free to quote me on this, but anyone that's getting into the cloud kitchen game now is a year, maybe 2 years too late. They're going to have to come up with 50 brands to make what one restaurant makes, and the only contribution they're giving really to the business model is data. That's it.
Do you have to add anything?
I mean, from the big norm side of cloud kitchen and all, I cannot agree more with Naim and Sama. But having said that, now obviously I'm a Chinese, and then Chinese, we use a completely different medium of technology. I'm seeing the technology usage among the mere Chinese WeChat in helping the dying international city restaurants have elevated exponentially. And I've seen the standard and the quality of the delivery have increased exponentially. So if you look at it from, as in the big picture of Dubai, cloud kitchen does not do great for the greater benefit of the industry. However, from a so-called specialist neighborhood cuisine, it has helped them to push themselves out, because let's put it that way, if you're someone living in JLT, other than going to Nikki's restaurant, if you want to venture down to international city, is not exactly the way, but now people are willingly to deliver all the authentic Chinese directly up. That's a different story altogether. So this is what we see, the pros and cons of this whole cloud kitchen concept evolution. I mean, we've seen the huge numbers in China because of the lockdown and the delivery. They have surged and grown by at least 150%. So as what Naim said, you have the population, you have the volume, this number talks. But when you don't have a single province, which is already 300 million, you're going to be in a deep trouble, shall we say.
Ajay, as a technology enabler, do you want to have a last word about, because I know that you provide a lot of the technology that goes into the whole cloud kitchen delivery and the hybrid kitchen model. How is this, what kind of trends are you seeing on the whole Posist side of it, other than what we've seen in the restaurant review? You're on mute, Ajay. Oh, we've lost him.
I'm basically...
Ajay? Okay, maybe we'll just move on swiftly to the next one. So in 2021, operators looked at the cost of optimization to weather the impact of the trouble of the economic conditions. Businesses were adopting leaner, more efficient models, more sort of probably looking at all the different twists and the slowdown. In 2022, there is a robust back of house setup, efficient kitchen operations, online ordering, etc., and a strong CRM system and technology system. I know this should really go to Ajay to start off with, but let me start with Samer. What kind of operational changes are you making and seeing, and what would you share with the other fellow restaurateurs around this to improve all your operations?
Well, for me, I obviously I'm a big tech head, so I've had a lot. We've trialed a lot of new tech, but a lot of.
And yet you don't have a cloud kitchen.
Sorry,
sorry, I couldn't resist.
Again, sorry, those are my dogs, so they had something to say when you said cloud kitchen. So for me, again, tech I think is crucial. I think technology that we own and our customer data that we own, so we don't harass people. I've been I've had 3 nightclubs, I've had 2 bars, I've had 2 restaurants. Well, 1 restaurant that was mine, which is a Kibadori. I don't think I've ever sent an email or a text message to customers, and I have all their data. So I think technology can help us be more responsible with one of the biggest threats to the digital world, which is online data safety, and I think which is I think crucial. The one thing we have shifted to recently is our HR is basically an AI. I mean, we started using Bayzat, which is a great local startup, and it just makes life very easy for our staff to do a lot of things. Request days off, request advances, see what, just everything. It just makes life very, very easy. So I see tech from an operations perspective, making life easier. But what I also see, and this is something we're all going to see, is if you're in the business of tech, so if you're one of the big aggregators, you also want to help your customers by providing them with services that other people would provide. So now you're going to see all the big aggregators offering back of house supply at discounted prices, because again, they're trying to get into the supply chain business. So you're going to see a lot of big names, not just happy with the data and the delivery market and the cloud kitchen market, but now they're going to want to sell you lettuce. If you're in the crypto space, lettuce is actually a pretty insulting term, but it's just crazy how this information power grab is going on behind the scenes. Most people won't even realize that that's happening. So just be careful with who you trust your tech to, because there's a lot of power you're giving up, really. So yeah, that's in a nutshell what I have to say about that.
Right, shameless plug. You can trust the Posist guys. Naeem, I know you're dying to get in. I can see it.
Mita, again, I think for me, IT technology is there to support the business. But I think a lot of people, and I'm not pointing the fingers at the cloud kitchens or anyone else or aggregators, but they are thinking that IT is taking over the business. It's not that. It should be purely utilized to help the business systems, back of house systems, ordering procedures, HR facilitations, and so forth. Our business is called hospitality for a simple reason. We cannot rely on AI, artificial intelligence. We as human hospitality leaders as well, with my DRG hat on, I'm nothing more than AI. I want to push emotional intelligence. People are looking for service, even on the phone to take an order, even drive-through, even at your table side, in the hotel room, in the spa, anywhere. We want that engagement. People are longing for that service. Emotional intelligence is what we should be really all singing about and developing our team members in order to make sure the industry has a future, in order to address the recruitment challenge and pull people back in. And last but not least, to make sure the industry stands on its own feet. We are losing talent to other industries very easily because the hours are controlled, the pay is similar, weekends are off, and my list goes on. So we need to be creative sufficiently in order to make sure that we revive the fundamentals of what the industry stood for, that whole service culture that we did. And for me, AI is really trying to take over, and sadly, people are putting the blinkers on, thinking, how do I save money rather than how do I nurture my business?
Matt, what about you? How is your organization using technology? What shifts are you seeing?
Well, not much to add that was said already by Samer or Naeem. Definitely, we're using a lot of technology in the back of the house, robotics to process invoices and electronic receipts here and there, etc. But when it comes to customer facing, I personally do not see technology if it means robots serving me at the table. I mean, this news that pops up every month, restaurant opened where robots are doing this and that, maybe I'm getting old, but this is not the way I see technology helping the business. We are working on enabling smoother operation, like Naeem has mentioned. For example, as we do delivery and we work with a lot of aggregators, we're implementing solutions. Instead of having tablets for each aggregator, how can we consolidate those orders and push them directly to our POSs that, come from the printers in the back of the house? Or how can we find a solution that the guests can order directly at the table and pay at the table? So those kind of things, but definitely far from, technology, if it means robots or artificial intelligence or other things.
Peggy, what are you seeing among your little restaurateurs that you are, and not so little restaurateurs that you work with?
I think, ultimately speaking, I cannot agree with across these elite of gentlemen is saying, but technology as a whole, it should be used better in helping us to deal with all the icky problem like admin, making sure that, our inventory. So that needs to be used a lot more than I'm seeing a lot of the proprietors that I'm working with that are still struggling and still doing things very manually. They need to utilize the technology in a way that it enables them to free up more time to nurture their staff, to go and, find new talent. AI recruitment is the thing that, is to come, using personality tests to find a better fit staff to work among your brand and be able to really live and breathe the USP. I think that should be something that we should utilize technology for. But purely just to be there to save costs, I wouldn't say so. I would say technology should be used to save time. That would be what I would look at.
Ajay, your company works with a lot of these restaurateurs and as the technology enabler. What are the key consultations and areas that you suggest to your customers when it comes to technology?
So Mita, as far as we're concerned, and I'm absolutely aligned with what Naeem said, it's about enabling, the front of house, back of house, the out of house integrations, and helping great restaurants improve their profitability, improve their efficiencies, and help drive growth. It's not about replacing; it's about driving greater efficiencies across the system. And one of the things that I see is a lot of the startups in the standalones and independents, they're only using technology at the front end, essentially as a billing system. But great restaurants are actually working technology all the way through to their back of houses, driving kitchen automation, driving efficiencies. And that's exactly where we see a lot more traction and a lot more interest. And just about everybody we talk to, that's one of the key areas. And say, all right, the front end anybody can solve. How do you solve the big challenges which are at the back end, including manpower that Peggy touched upon? So yeah, it is technology is over there as of today. But just one point I wanted to ask Naeem, and I know it's the right form to do that. Naeem, we're talking about robots not taking over, but robotization of basic processes would emerge over, and that's already emergent now. People are beginning to invest. So do you see this as a trend that will continue to evolve and grow, or do you see this something as just data? Because the robotic processes are not about data, they're about capturing process data and enabling, possibly countering the lack of or the shortage of manpower, which would evolve very differently over the coming years across the globe, not just in the Middle East, and even in the Middle East. So,
Ajay, I think you've hit the nail on the head by using the word trend. It is a trend, and like every trend, it comes into a full-fledged solution and then it drops off. I don't think robots are for our industry, at least. Like I keep saying, I think for me, it's about systems, it's about efficiencies, it's about automated processes that we can put in place in order to free our time up to focus on the customer service, be it internal customers and or external customers, positioning our businesses and driving our top lines. As far as I'm concerned, our industry should focus on the human capital as much as possible, because that's really the only difference we will be able to fly the flag high with.
Thank you. I'm going to move on now, because the last sort of second last conversation we have is that the restaurants have been talking about how they're changing their menus to cope with a demand for a healthier diet. Apparently, there are 79.6% people are asking for healthier food choices. And of course, 73% are looking at takeaway and delivery. So, Peggy, I'm going to start with you. As a consultant, what kind, and I know you help with a lot of restaurants with their planning their menus and looking at their operation efficiencies and all of those areas. What are you seeing, and what kind of suggestions are you making to existing clients or new ones that are coming into the market?
I think first of all, I need to congratulate a few of my industry colleagues has been very pioneering from the impossible mince that I saw, sticky rice, to the vegan nuggets that I see Ian sells at Freedom Pizza. Now, if we look at it, I think our industry has been more receptive and more innovative than ever before in looking at alternative produce to supplement the so-called the raw material chain that we have. Yes, there is a lot more healthier diet requirement, but if we just look at it overall in Dubai, over the 150 different nationality already, from the vegetarian to the specialist with the religious requirement. To me, as a Chinese person, without a certain P word, we would not survive. So therefore, you know, we need to look at it. Healthy option is here to stay, but healthy option to now able to elevate to the point that it become sustainably to be sitting in a menu. I think this is where the challenge and the innovative thinking mastermind that has to evolve. Because a lot of the times, you know, I speak to a lot of my clients and even industry colleagues. Obviously, vegan is a new trend. Everyone seems to try to please that sector, but ultimately speaking, they've been getting a lot of backlash, a lot of trial and tribulation and error. And this is for among all my colleagues is these type of food, healthy eating are like a trend, but also some of them are here to stay. How do we differentiate? How do we segment which are the ones that is to stay and make it worthwhile for the diners to enjoy and for them to enjoy to serve? This is more of a topic than any other thing. That's my belief.
Mert, you in a fast casual restaurant.
Well, if you ask the question, do you want to have a healthy diet? I think most of the people will say, yes, I want a healthy diet. But what is a healthy that we're talking about? Because there is a lot of misperception or different definitions for that. Is it low calorie? Is it locally sourced? Is it something that provides a functional benefit like protein? Is it vegan? Is it something like avoiding intolerance? Like is cappuccino with coconut milk healthy rather than a regular cappuccino that we had for years? So it's really what does healthy mean? You know, that's the other thing. For me, we as operators, we need to continue thinking well when we are creating a menu. So the menu should be well thought and balanced. That gives option to the customer to choose, to be able to choose what they want and when they want and how they want. You know, that's for me, providing choices to the customer, not necessarily, you know, fear of missing some big trends that is here. Oh, everybody's talking about vegan. Now I need to have 1/3 of my menu vegan. Well, I don't know. I don't think like that.
What about you, Samer? What changes have you made?
No changes. When I develop a menu, I develop it based on what the concept is, not based on what the trend or the market wants. For the simple reason that I can't physically possibly please every single person. So the people that do want to come to Akiba Dori, who are looking for pizza, who are looking for Japanese street food, who are looking for a chicken katsu curry, I can't make a vegan katsu curry, and just because, you know, I mean, I'm not saying we don't have vegan options or vegetarian options, because we do, because every restaurant has vegetarian options, but 10 years ago, a vegetarian option was a baked potato. Now restaurants are actually putting together really incredible vegetarian and really incredible vegan menus, but they're targeting that specific clientele. So it's, you know, it's like McDonald's having a salad on their menu. I mean, who the hell orders a McDonald's salad? I'd love to meet I ask Walid all the time, who are these people? You know, I feel weird ordering coffee from McDonald's, like much less a salad. So there, but what the point is, some things you put on a menu, some things you don't put on a menu, and honestly, changing your concept to appease what a bunch of people on social media are talking about, for me, you don't know what you're doing, and that you don't have a concept. You should, I think, as long as people are sticking to what they do best, and not trying to please everyone, I think they'll be fine. But if you want to please everybody, open a food court.
I absolutely agree. If I want healthy, I'll eat a salad. Otherwise, I go to one of Naeem's restaurants. Or
Salads are not healthy. Salad dressing is horrible. It's just freaking, I mean, you know, I'm at the gym 4 days a week. Those 4 days a week, I don't eat a single carb all day. You know what I eat? I literally have a salmon. That's it. I can't even look at salad dressing because olive oil is bad. So no, it doesn't work. You have to do what works for you. But I'm saying from a brand perspective, if you're building a brand based on a specific concept, if you're going to keep messing around with it, you're going to 100% lose. You're going to lose your old customers and you're going to lose your new customers because you don't know what you're doing for anybody anymore.
Naeem, with your DRG hat on, what would you advise these guys who are changing and chopping and changing their menus?
Get out of the industry is my best advice. Again, I think brand integrity is really what it's all about. And I think when we're talking about healthy, I think we should be looking at sustainability, traceability, menu composition. Nobody goes to an Italian restaurant to have to start a regime. So I think we need to be true to what the brands say above the door, and we need to deliver on those. And last but not least, every menu should have a component that is very well balanced, represents the brand concept identity, and nothing more. It's a trend. Yes, the world is moving into that direction. Having said that, I think you can still have a healthier burger than other burgers. So it's a composition of that burger, the bread, the salads, the actual mix of the beef mince that you're using, and so forth. That's what we should be looking about. It's giving people that transparency of what's on the menu rather than it's healthy and it's good for you.
100%. And a lot of these places that do that say it's calorie counted, or they're trying to do the keto thing. I mean, I understand people want to be healthier, but just with all due respect, you don't get healthier by sitting on your couch and ordering food and watching TV 7 days a week. You get healthier by getting up, walking around, getting some exercise. I mean, obviously 70% of it is food. I don't want to turn this into a health subject, but so there's so much laziness that, like Naeem's saying, you can have a very clean burger, cleaner than you'd make at home, or you can have a really sloppy, dirty burger that is a couple of thousand calories. Neither one are right, neither is wrong. It depends on you, but from a brand perspective, don't fall into that trap. It's like all these nightclubs. When I had nightclubs that used to, like, I always did retro. I did 80s and 90s music. I did rock music. I did what I knew how to do. And I saw a lot of other nightclubs that had a predominantly Western expat clientele suddenly start doing an Arabic night, suddenly start doing a Desi night, so it became like a food court. Like you've lost your identity, and not a single one of them survived. Not a single one of them. So yeah, stick to your roots.
Well, gentlemen,
don't bend.
Yeah, it's been great conversation. Just before we all return, revenues are returning to normalcy. Hope is in the air. Where should we go around to? We'll start with you, Peggy, first, and then go around to everybody else. Where do you see the opportunities and interest in the next 6, 8 months, 12 months, other than Expo, of course?
I mean, there's plenty of going on. We are now seeing the huge billboard of the F1 expanding in the region. Saudi, of course, have a great push. Qatar also bringing in the F1. I will be very interesting to see what other will be doing in the region. I mean, because we've seen very sleepiness from Bahrain, Kuwait, obviously Oman, could have recovered, but they've been badly hit by the recent natural disaster. But it's very interesting to see what else to come, especially as what Sama has said. KSA is on steroid, shall we put it that way. I'm seeing a lot of China RMB flooding into that kingdom. I'm very interested to see how that would come to the regular people rather than just to major infrastructure, which Chinese is always very good at providing. So that's my verdict.
Matt?
Well, I'm going to be brief on this and leave the final thoughts to Naeem and Samer and the rest. But one thing I want to say is there is opportunities all the time. I look at that, you know, you can have an opportunity anytime, but an opportunity for you might not be an opportunity for someone else. So you need to really get rid of this. I'm going to repeat it again, the fear of missing out from your mind, because always someone is going to come and tell you, well, why don't you have a food truck? Why don't you operate in a dark kitchen? Why don't you go to Saudi? Everybody is going to Saudi. You know, you cannot have a cookie cutter opportunity recipe for everyone. You need to look at what your capabilities are, what your aspirations are, and then you need to go accordingly. There is an opportunity anytime and every time, and it's up to you to identify that. I'm not going to be able to tell an opportunity list to anyone.
Naeem? I'm going by the people on my screen first, Francois.
Thank you, Mita. I think ample opportunities moving forward, but the four adjectives that I'm going to use are very simple. One is do your due diligence. Don't enter the market because your colleague did and succeeded or is succeeding. Due diligence on all levels, meaning location, concept, brand, comp set, and so forth. Two is authenticity. I think I touched on brand integrity before. Let's be authentic. So if you do sushi nights, make sure they put down sushi and not sushi with shisha. Let's keep it authentic. AI, again, emotional intelligence. I can't stress enough the fact how important this is, and it's an entire cycle of recruitment, writing your SOPs, writing your business strategies, and so forth. But it needs to be at the heart and the center of everything we do. And last but not least, let's not forget where we've just been. Let's make sure we do things responsibly. Let's make sure we don't abuse the freedom that the country is giving us or the authorities are giving us. And let's make sure we keep things responsible, aligned, and really make sure we protect the industry, our people, and our guests. That's it.
Samer, last words.
So obviously, I can speak on behalf of myself and a lot of people in the industry when, yes, our numbers have gone back up dramatically. I'd say even better than 2019, where we were in a recession nobody wanted to talk about. And I think it's important to be honest about these things.
True.
You're not doing anybody any favors by pretending you're making money. Ultimately, nobody has a peek into your bank account. Nobody cares. People used to assume things about other businesses all the time, and then when that business goes south, they're like, "What happened? They were making billions." Like, okay, it's a cafe. How are they making billions? So, what Mert was saying, FOMO. I've been in, whatever, for lack of a better word, I've done my share of investing in the stock market and in the crypto space, and I've made money off of people's impatience and of people's FOMO. So the same thing can apply to F&B. You can't own an idea, you can't own a concept, but you can do it better than the next person. So if you are going to do something, make sure you're doing it better or the best of your abilities. Because if you come in with a great idea and you say, this guy did a food truck, so I'm going to do a food truck, but instead of making a cheese sandwich, I'm going to make a chicken sandwich, and that becomes your downfall. So, like Mert was saying again, opportunities are absolutely everywhere. Just because we see this dramatic rise in revenue right now, let's not forget, like Naeem said, where we were and where we're coming from, and how actually fortunate we are to be in Dubai and not anywhere else. I mean, just imagine we were somewhere else. Like, I can't imagine if I was in Beirut or New York City. I'd be done. Like, my businesses would be done. So people have to take into account the Dubai effect, and I think that's the number one saving grace that we had for the industry here. How relevant and needed the industry was, which is why we see these these numbers of returning to normalcy. I'd like to see the continuation of the return to normalcy by not abusing the rules and by not trying to be a wise ass. Everyone's like the police when it comes to COVID right now, when it comes to restaurants. No one's going to let another bar or club or restaurant get away with something that could affect the whole industry. So people need to really be smart about what they're doing, because I don't think anyone's taking any chances at this point in time, because we need the industry to get back on its feet. There are literally hundreds of thousands of people that are affected by the F&B and hospitality industry, and letting them down is literally like sucking the soul out of Dubai, which is not, we're not going to let happen, obviously.
Ajay, from your point of view, you've been a restaurateur, you're the tech provider. Tell us.
Yeah, I think sticking to your knitting, doing what you do best is what I absolutely agree with. First principles approach forever, and just keep it simple. And great restaurants would return past normalcy, taking advantage of the opportunities that are available. And people who just got onto the bandwagon because they thought, as Naeem said earlier on, you know, it's a great business, an easy business to get onto, are the ones who will vacate those spaces. So normalcy is overrated. I think we should target greater growth and take advantage of every opportunity that's available, be it from a tech perspective, be it from a real estate perspective, or from a manpower perspective. Opportunities will keep on turning, and I absolutely agree with what Samir and Mert said. Don't get caught up with this, you know, that guy's doing better than me, so let me do what he's doing. There was a book long time back, which is called In Search of Excellence. One of the key concepts over there was stick to your knitting, do what you do best, stay focused, and life will turn good. So yeah, that's my take on this. Technology will keep on evolving. Technology will always help drive profitability, growth, and efficiencies.
Sounds like a party where you are, Ajay.
Yeah, there is. I am there.
More than 3 people now.
Right, we're coming over as soon as this call is over. I just want to say one last thing. Thank you so much to everyone that stayed with us right through the call, and to Naeem, Mert, Peggy, Samer, and Ajay for sharing your very valuable opinion with us. So
Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Thank you.
Look forward to